What's up, everybody, and welcome to the channel. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be looking at Shadows of Brimstone, and we're going to be playing it along with the HexCrawl fan-made expansion, which includes this Overland map here, and all of the Overland rules, and town rules, and encounter rules, and Overland Combat, and movement, and encounters. It comes with this really cool encounters book, which is just loads of tables to roll on. So you've got job board table to roll on, terrain encounters, depending on the different type of terrain you're on, you'll have different encounters. There's a wilderness encounters board, just tons and tons of stuff to roll on. And then also I'm going to include the ultimate travel hazards of the Old West, another fan-made resource for Shadows of Brimstone, which is just packed full. I think it's like 900 different encounters, or maybe let's see how many we got. 800s, 854. All right, where do we end at? 888 different encounters or travel hazards, or things that can happen along the way during your journey. And so we're going to take a look at all of this together. We're going to also include this other fan-made resource, which is the Shadows of Brimstone Create Your Own Mission Randomizer, which just generates a cool dungeon for you to crawl through with cool objectives and goals and special rules for that dungeon, and special consequences if you fail and rewards if you succeed. And there's also a name generator and different theme tables as well, so lots of fun stuff to roll on. And I'll also, of course, be making use of my Game Master's Apprentice decks as usual. So this is going to be kind of like a Shadows of Brimstone HexCrawl with a little bit of solo role-playing game mechanics and methods and techniques mixed on in there. Okay, so we've got our character sheets here. These are just going to be fresh characters, level 0. We have the U.S. Marshal. His name is Clancy. And along with him, we have the Saloon Girl, Violet. Now, the U.S. Marshal has been sent to Brimstone from the East Coast by the U.S. government to figure out what's going on and handle all of the weird supernatural goings-ons here. And the Saloon Girl, Violet, she is originally from Brimstone, so she knows the area, and she was sent along with him as sort of a guide in his mission to figure out with and hopefully handle what's going on in Brimstone. Let's go ahead and roll to see which path they enter. And I rolled a 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so they're coming into town down here. And so we'll go ahead and I'm going to use these little black cubes as our Overland character markers. And the way that Overland Travel works in HexCrawl is it's on a day-to-day basis. And in each day, you are given a certain amount of movement points, and the amount depends on whether you're on horseback or on foot. And if you're on horseback, you get 6 movement points. If you're on foot, you get 5. And I'm going to say it's most likely that we are on horseback, right? Now, the way that movement works is on easy terrain, you use 1 movement point to move. Easy terrain is going to be your paths. And if you're walking along a railroad and that sort of thing, 2 movement points are used on other terrain, like just out in the grassy fields or the plains. That's going to cost 2. And then if you're moving in mountains or forests or bogs or plateaus or any other kind of terrain, like all of these ruins here, it's going to cost 3. So we're along a trail right now. We could move along this trail all the way up here to Fort Thompson if we'd like, or all the way up to Sato's Mill. Some other things we can do we need to do during the Overland map phase is when you begin the day, which we are doing right now, you have to roll to see if you have a wilderness encounter. Now, the rules for HexCrawl are that you roll a d8, and on a 1 or 2, you do a wilderness encounter. However, what I like to do, because I like lots of stuff to be happening all the time, is I roll a d6, and on a 1 or 2, I have a wilderness encounter. But on a 5 or a 6, we would roll for a travel hazard out of the Ultimate Travel Hazards guide. And so, yeah, I just like to have lots of things happening all the time. So that's why I like to do that. So we'll go ahead and roll for beginning our day. And we rolled a 6, so that means we're going to use our Ultimate Travel Hazards guide. And the way that we roll on this is we roll 3d8. All right, so let's go ahead and set this here All right, so we'll go in alphabetical order by color name. So we have blue, caramel, and red. So 266. Let's go ahead and flip to 266. So Remnants of the Great Worm. And this is written by Graham Henson, who's the creator of HexCrawl, I believe. And so here we have, the posse stumbles across a tunnel out in the middle of nowhere. As you travel down into this cave, you find something you weren't quite expecting. And so we roll a d6 to see what we found. On a 6, we found a thriving tunnel city. You come across a hidden mining community. Treat this as a small town visit. You don't roll for a town setup, but each hero may visit any one town location they want to. Heroes will only spend 1 day here. After that, the heroes are led out of the tunnel city. All right, so we get to use some amenities. I think we'll go ahead and do a vision quest. Might as well. So we find this tunnel community, and in this community there is an Indian trading post where we can do our little vision quest for free. It's just a spirit test. So spirit 5+, who's going to be doing our vision quest? Let's go ahead. 5+. So she has 3 spirit. She's going to roll 3 dice. And she needs a 5 or a 6. Nothing. Okay. So I believe on a fail, nothing happens. Okay, so let's go over some of the other things that we can do. There are a couple other things that can be done with your movement points. There's, of course, moving, which we talked about. You can also search a hex, and in that circumstance, you're going to draw an exploration token, and depending on what the exploration token shows, different things can happen. You can have an encounter, a terrain encounter. You can have combat, Overland Combat. You can actually advance quests if you get the clue symbol on your exploration token, depending on whether you have like a quest going for the Overland map. Other things you can do, and that costs 1 movement point, and you can do it once per hex per day, but you can come back on different days to the same hex and search it again. So now the other thing you can do is each character tag has these keyword actions that they can do that cost movement points. Some of them require you to be camped, but these are just different additional things that you can do. Like the performer can do a traveling act to make some money. Traveler can force the horses to move, press them forward, and at the risk of one of them dying. Tribal can do a spirit guide, that sort of stuff. So these are things that can be done as well with your movement points. But I think what we're going to do is move forward 1, 2, 3. That would cost 3, 4, 5. So that would cost 5 of our movement points. And that puts us at Fort Thompson. And we have 1 more point. So I'm going to go ahead and say that we search this area. So let's use that last movement point to search. And so we'll draw an exploration marker. And we drew an encounter. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that's going to mean for us. And we are going to roll on what kind of terrain are we on. Let's see here. I mean, we're on like ruined Fort Thompson, so that would be town ruins terrain, page 56. We rolled a 7. So we take a look. 7 is droning of flies. Encounter, environment, and horror are the tags. The scenes about you are almost too much to handle. While you can never seem to find any bodies, spatters of blood punctuate the burned remains of a once thriving town. The stench of death and the constant buzzing of flies is perhaps the worst of it, threatening to drive you mad and send you running as fast as your legs will take you. Each hero takes 3 horror hits. Any hero that does not pass at least 2 out of these hits must then roll on the madness chart. Sanity damage is applied as normal. So 3 horror hits, and those work just like normal in regular old Shadows of Brimstone. So we take our willpower and we get to roll. We have to roll, because it's 3 hits, we roll 3 dice, and we have to roll 4+ to avoid taking the sanity hits. So we'll go ahead with Clancy first. He's going to roll. We need 4+ on these. All right. Okay, so we are able to resist sanity damage for the 2 of them, but we do take 1 sanity damage. Set that right there. And then Violet is going to roll. And, oh no. So not only does she take 3 sanity damage, She's also going to have to roll on the madness chart. So we're going to roll d36. That's going to be 3d6, I believe, right? All right. And so we'll have the first number be a 4. Second is a 5. Wait, d36. Okay, yeah, 4, 5. All right. So 45 is going to be nyctophobia. Why is it so dark here? Did you hear that? You take 2d6 horror hits from voices in the dark, and light sources only protect you when you are on the same map tile as its holder. Okay, so she's the one carrying the light source, so that's good. But we'll go ahead and add nyctophobia to her character sheet here. So we are done with that encounter. All right, so I think what Clancy and Violet's mission was initially was to reach Fort Thompson, right? And that was going to be like their checkpoint where they check in with the other U.S. government officials and then use that to sort of broaden their investigation of Brimstone from Fort Thompson. And of course, they get here and Fort Thompson is completely destroyed. I think it's nighttime now. They used all their movement points. It's been a long day. They're going to set up camp, or not a full camp, not like a HexCrawl overworld campsite, but they're going to stop here and rest till morning. And once the sun comes up, I think they're going to try and investigate Fort Thompson a little bit, try and find out what happened here. All we know so far is that there's flies and blood everywhere and everything's burned. There's no bodies, at least as far as we were able to find yesterday, or yeah, on our first day. And so yeah, we're going to go ahead and start a new day. And instead of rolling for an event to start this day right away, what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and we'll renew our movement. We'll put these over here. So we've got our 6 movement points. But to start our day, we're actually going to do a little bit of investigation. And I'm going to do my handy-dandy Game Master's Apprentice 3-card spread using my complications table to get a sense of what we discover as we search this area. So we drew a tower, which is a location becomes a problem. We drew a crown, which means a non-plot opposition arrives. And we drew a shield, which means there's a delay, a block, or a detour. And so what this is telling me is that, so non-plot opposition, so we're going to be encountering something that does not have to do with the sort of supernatural goings-on in Brimstone that we were sent here to explore, but some sort of threat that is just like a normal threat within this environment. So something like bandits or something like that. It has to do with the environment. We are in ruins. We're in like ashy, destroyed ruins. And what was the other one? Delayed, block, or detoured. So it's an obstacle of some sort, right? So what I'm thinking is the destruction of this town. Obviously, everything was burned. This would be something that was noticed by the denizens of the area. Some of the unsavory types, like your bandits, burglars, your roaming gangs, etc. And so they're drawn to this place to see, okay, there was some destruction there. Let's see if we can go loot the place, right? And they encounter us, and now we are going to have to deal with that. And so what I'm thinking is we could use the human threat tables that come with the HexCrawl set and roll on that. So we could either do the D8 the low threat table, which is for 1 to 2 heroes, or alternately, we could roll on this black table, which is just a random villains. Let's just start. We just started this. I'm not going to go crazy. Let's roll on the low threat chart, and we'll roll a D8. And we rolled an 8. Okay, so that means we're going to have to fight henchmen, and the quantity is going to be determined by this yellow die. 5 henchmen. 5 henchmen. Okay, so let me get the henchmen out. And I think we're going to draw to see if they are immediately hostile towards us, or if maybe, perhaps, we can try and talk our way out of this and not have any conflict. So I'm going to say the odds that they are nice and don't want to attack us are bad. So are these nice henchmen? Bad odds. Yes? Question mark? Okay. Okay, so maybe there is something that we can do. Let's try and figure this out. Let's draw another one of these cards from the Game Master's Apprentice to E. Here we go. If we look at this sort of plot hook that's here, it says physically trapped or caged. Physically trapped or caged. So what I'm thinking is they need help freeing someone who's physically trapped or caged in order to not be a threat to us, right? Like they're like, we're gonna rob you, but we actually need help. We need help with this situation we got going on. We're trying to save somebody who's trapped, and it's a nasty situation where there's like monsters or something, right? So, while this won't lead to a combat, I think, with the henchmen, if we accept this quest, we're probably in for some combat against some supernatural creatures. So let's think about this. Henchmen wants. These are henchmen. Henchmen are they're beneath a certain individual, right? They're somebody's. You're someone's henchman, right? So their master, whoever they are, is trapped or caged somewhere, and so if we're willing to help them to release their master from this cage situation, they won't rob us and kill us and other terrible things. So here's what we'll do. We're gonna draw a card. Let's say that the master is. Let's see, where is he trapped? Let's move this over a little bit. Here's what we could say. Their master is trapped in the forests just north of the ruins of Fort Thompson. And so essentially what we're going to do is an overland map encounter. Here's what I'm thinking. Instead of fully abstracting it, what we'll do is we'll say that we are part of a greater battle that's going on. And so like over here somewhere, there are 4 henchmen fighting against monsters. And over here with us, we have 1 henchman and the 2 of us going against some threat. So we'll go ahead and draw a standard Shadows of Brimstone card to see what we're going to be fighting against. And we drew a Night Terror and a number of Stranglers. 3 Stranglers. Okay, a Night Terror and 3 Stranglers. So let's get those guys out. To make this a little bit easier, Violet is going to be the purple. And we'll make the U.S. Marshal yellow. And the henchman, because his card is green, is going to be green. Alright, now this is not how we're going to distribute. Kind of have them like this. And I guess we will have us down here at the bottom. Kind of 2 of us close together and then the henchman over here. And let's see, initiatives, we have... The highest initiative is going to be Violet. So Violet's going to get to go first. And again, she's going to be using her pistol to make this attack. She has a comforting presence, so at the end of the hero turn, may heal 1 wound or 1 sanity from every other adjacent hero, and gains 5 XP for that. She also does +1 damage because of her dirty fighting skills. Let's say that they're going to be right next to each other. She's going to try and end her turn next to somebody. We have ties of initiative between Clancy, the henchman, and the stranglers. That means the enemy goes first. So it would be stranglers, and then we would have henchman, even though he's on our team. We'll have him go first, and then we'd have Clancy. Or I guess we could just decide based on tactics. And last but not least, the Night Terror is going to go. We do have some special abilities on these guys. Ensnare for the Strangler, so hits of 6 count as 3 hits each, so that can do some real damage. The Night Terror does Terror 2. A hero starting their action on the same map tile automatically takes 2 horror hits. So we're all going to have to roll for horror hits when we start our turn. And then this guy's got Ranged Attacker. Henchman moves each turn to be the maximum range of his ranged attack away from his target, within line of sight, and makes a ranged attack. If adjacent to a hero, then a melee attack is made instead against an adjacent hero with the least amount of health. His rifle is range 7, shots 1, and damage 3. Covering fire. If no heroes are adjacent to henchmen, all hero movement within 4 spaces of the henchman costs 2 move per space. Okay, so we'll want to remember that. So once the enemy, so it says heroes on here, but we have to remember that he is on our side. So hero on his card means enemy, right? So one of his enemies, whenever these get within 4 spaces of him, they need to use 2 points of movement per space. Okay, so that's kind of useful, right? So maybe we start all together. And we go ahead and get going. So first, highest initiative is Violet. So she's going to have to roll to resist the terror. She takes 2 terror hits. So she'll need to roll 4+ to not take sanity hits. All right, so she resists 1 but takes a hit from the other. She's at. All right, so we're going to have her hang back. I don't want her running out here and getting attacked, getting surrounded. Let's have the next turn begin. So all of those with initiative 4, we got enemies. They're going to go first. So the Stranglers are going to pick who they're going to attack. So there's 3 Stranglers, so we'll have each one go after a different hero. This Strangler is going to go after Violet. Now, once they are within 4 range of this dude, they can only move. They have to use 2 move per space. So they have a movement of 6, so this would be 1. Then this would be 2, 3, 4, 5, and can't move anymore. Right? Because they're within 1, 2, 3, 4 range, right? And this one's going to come after this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because he's coming after him. All right. And that brings us to to Clancy and the henchman. Let's go ahead and have Clancy do his attack. He's got that fancy shotgun. So we'll go ahead and we'll set this here. And double shotgun. Once per turn when you... Oh, what is this grade? Oh, that's her grade. Once per turn, when you kill an enemy with a shotgun, you gain +1 shot with that shotgun. So if we can kill one of these guys in 1 shot, we'll get an extra 2nd shot. Anyway, it's a range of 5, so we can attack any of these guys. Let's go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, let's go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so first we have to roll for our 2 horror hits. So we need 4+. All right, we take 2 sanity hits here. And I'm going to have him move right here and attack the Night Terror, since that's kind of like our big baddie. He gets to roll a d8, and a 6, 7, or 8 count as a critical hit. We need to roll a 4+ to hit it all. All right, we got a 6, so that's a hit, and it's a critical hit. Which means we roll another d8 for damage, and it ignores defense. We only rolled a 2. Oh well. All right, so let's go ahead and throw some damage on this guy. We ignore defense, and we do 2 damage to him. And any other abilities we want to use? Once per adventure, we can give everybody +2 shots or +2 combat during their next activation. If we were to use this, this would work for us next activation. We wouldn't be able to do this straight away. Let's hold on and just see how much of a ordeal this is turning out to be, and decide from there. Okay, so now it's going to be our henchman's turn, and I'm going to have him move here. He's got a range of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or can we attack and then move? Maybe we'll attack the Night Terror as well. So first we need to roll. And he doesn't have a stat for willpower, so we'll go ahead and say it's 4+, just like us. And he takes 2 sanity hits, but how are we going to handle that for the henchman? Maybe we'll give him 10 sanity, just like our marshal, and figure out what happens to him if we reach that. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And he's going to attack the Night Terror. He has a range of 7 and the rifle has a range of 7 and he has a range to hit of +4. So we roll a d6 and we need 4 plus 2, so he misses. All right, that brings us to the Night Terror's turn. He gets to move 5. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Once he's within 4. Okay, so he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he gets to stop right there. We'll go ahead and put his wounds on his sheet since there's just one of him. And then that brings us to Saloon Girl's turn. Oh, let's see. We forgot her comforting presence. She did get to heal 1 sanity at the end because she was adjacent to the U.S. Marshal Clancy. Okay, so we forgot to do that. That also gives her 5 experience. And I'm going to keep track of that here. We'll just keep a little line of gained experience there. And then that brings us to this guy's turn, who's going to attack Clancy. He lands 2 hits and does 2 damage. So Clancy takes 2. Now Clancy's going to attack this guy. Critical hit and enough to kill him. All right, so that heals him a wound and a sanity. Gains him another 10 and then another 25. The henchman's master is now freed. Let's go ahead and learn a little bit about the henchman's master, right? All right, so let's draw a card here and see what kind of person we're dealing with. I like to look at the belongings. An exotic pet, imported animal, electronic life, or a cryptid creature. And then the noun up here is contraband. So what I'm thinking of is... So we'll draw one of these for a name. Abdul, I like that. Okay. So we meet this character, Abdul. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what he looks like. He's like an occultist, right? So he's an occultist who specializes in these cryptid creatures. Is it possible that he's the one who has summoned these creatures forth? Or is there something much bigger going on here? So we'll call him Cryptid Occultist, who was somehow messing around with these nasty creatures and it wound him up in a tight spot. And so he's got all his henchmen, so it's not like we can really interrogate him. We're outgunned and outnumbered. Let's try and figure out what's going on here. Let's just say, okay, like what's going on here, dude? And so Clancy and Violet talk to him, and we get delay, tender, game. And I also want to take a look at this this rune symbol here, which is Gabo, or Jibo, gift or exchange, generosity, balance, contracts, relationships, or partnerships. Abdul, whose life work is like the study of strange creatures and strange beings, heard what was going on in Brimstone and decided to come here and check it out on his own. Yeah, he's been doing some studies in the area, and he thinks that this is a potential conduit for the supernatural beings that have been arriving and terrorizing the people. So that'll jump us right into a dungeon crawl, where we will have our occultist Abdul and some henchmen with us. Of course, we have to move first, which means we are going to roll for a wilderness event. and we rolled a 1, so that will be a wilderness event. We roll a D100. So 11. Rolled an 11. It's going to bring us to Giant Carved Head. Encounter Environment Ancient tags. A giant carved head lays on its side, not far from the path. Its features are almost human, but hint of a race more alien than human. The plain mouth ends in a fang on either side, and the cold eyes show nothing but contempt for the world. Choose, investigate the carved head further, or ignore it and move on. I'm going to investigate it. We've got Abdul, the cryptid expert. Surely he can tell us something about this head. So we go to 11A, result 11A, and investigate the head further. We have luck 4+. Gain 50 XP and stop all movement for the day. As you walk about the giant head, you see that it is incredibly old, but find some sort of switch mechanism on its backside. You cautiously activate the switch, and the head opens up like a puzzle box. To your horror, a swarm of large centipedes scurries forth from the innards of the great head. The horses become panicked and ride off in a flurry. We lost our horses. Each hero that fails the initial luck test lose a random token from their side bag. Okay, so let's do this again then. So now we need to do a luck test for everyone. So we're going to roll 3 for U.S. Marshal Clancy, who succeeds twice, and she succeeds once. All right. The creatures dig holes in the ground and slink away without incident, and you eventually gather your horses up. Okay, so we got them back. Inside the head, you find an ancient cache. Each hero draws 1 loot card. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, so Clancy gets 1 Darkstone. Shuffle this back up. And Violet gets D3 Darkstone. So 3. To see if we have any wilderness encounters. We roll a 1 again, so we are going to have one. D100. 95. Circle of Trees. Encounter Environment Puzzle. A small copse of trees that grows in a perfect circle lies before you. In the center of the circle lies a plaque with an inscription that simply lists what appears to be a random collection of numbers. Cunning 6+. Okay, so we've got Clancy has 4 cunning. So we're going to roll 4 dice for him, and he fails. And she has 3 cunning, so she's going to roll 3 dice, and she fails. Okay. If any hero makes this skill test, the group deciphers the numbers and reveals the location of something on their map. Roll D20 and consult the town chart, the location they've deciphered. Okay, so we don't get to do any of that. Bummer. All right, so nothing comes of that, but at least we can continue our movements up to the Old Ed's mine, which would cost 3 movement points. And I think we have 2 left. Let's go ahead and camp before we head into this mine. So we get to heal 2d6 wounds. All right, so heals everything. And we'll go ahead and enter Old Ed's mine. And this is where we can use our Create Your Own Mission Randomizer. And so we'll just go through this one step at a time. Move that out of the way. Setup table, roll a d6. We roll a 1. 1 to 3 means it's a regular mine entrance map tile. All right, so in the interest of space and time, I think for the dungeon crawls, we're going to not use the map tiles. We're just going to sort of abstract the exploration of the map. And so I'll probably use the cards as the actual tiles as we move through. All right, so we'll say that there is 1 henchman with Abdul. And then, of course, we have Violet and Clancy. But let's go ahead and finish rolling for our current dungeon using the Create Your Own Mission Randomizer. So table 2 is the mission goal. We're rolling a d6. It says map entire mine or otherworld location. Map entire mine. So we'll call this Old Ed's mine. Our goal is to map entire mine. Onto the next table would be any additional rules. We roll 3d6. And each of these dice have the potential to add an additional rule. So 1 or 2, there is no special rule for that die, so we don't do anything for that. 3 or 4, roll on table 3 with a d8. We'll roll a d8, actually, this time. And then Immediate Dread is the special rule for this one. Resolve all growing dread cards immediately as they are drawn. Ooh, okay. So, map entire mine, Immediate Dread. That's nasty. And then for this dice, we roll on table 4 with d8. We got a 7, and that's going to be What in Tarnation? Whenever the darkness marker ends on an ordinary space, not a darkness or growing dread, roll d6 on this chart to determine what has befell the posse. So there's growing darkness, growing dread, attack with a threat card, look what I found, so random hero draws a gear card, secret stash, each hero draws a random side bag token, and no effect if it's 6. Alright, so I guess we'll want to have this on hand. So basically, something's going to happen every time the dread marker moves along the track. And then mission objective table 5. We're going to roll a d6. 6. All right. Skill test. Determine the check to be made once by rolling once on each of the following charts. All right, so we roll a d6 to see that it is a random hero. Needs to do a lore test of 6+. Okay. Random hero lore test 6+. That's our objective. It says, then after rolling on the 3 charts to determine the skill test, 1, draw a threat card on one higher than the normal posse threat level. If there are no monsters on the board, this skill test may be attempted once per game turn. If successful, the heroes win. Go to reward. If failed, roll a special hold back the darkness roll. If failed, go back 1 step. Otherwise, go to step 2. So I figure we can roll the reward and failure in the events of those happening, but we can also go ahead and roll on the name of our quest, our mission. So it is Stench of the Baked Bean Eating Void Cultists. Pretty cool. All right. I believe the mission objective, right, is something that we're going to activate once we reach our goal, which was to map out the entire dungeon. All right, so with that, we will begin our journey. And the way that we're going to handle this as an abstraction is that we can just move on when the players have all taken a turn, right? So we'll have Violet do a search, and she has that lucky ace, which means she can roll an extra die for scavenging. Nothing. All right, we'll have the Marshal scavenge, and nothing. Oh, he only gets to roll 2 dice. All right, and then we'll draw for the next room. All right. And we'll flip over an encounter token, and there's 3 exits. All right, so there will be an exit this way, and an exit this way. And we have an encounter. Oh, you know what we forgot to do is hold back the darkness. 7+. We did it. All right, now for this new room, 7+, or the second round, 7+. Oh no. Okay, so it moves down a peg, and then because of our special rule, whenever the darkness marker moves to an ordinary space, we roll the die to figure out what happens. We rolled a 2, which means growing dread card. And because we have the immediate dread feature for this dungeon as well, that means that the dread card will take effect immediately. All right, so we got You shudder to think of what lay before you. Move the darkness one step forward on the depth track. All right. And because we landed on a blood splatter, we get to draw a darkness, which is going to be an ambush attack. 1 Night Terror. All right. And we'll go ahead and draw for our encounter as well. You find an old prospector in the mines. He looks at you with a suspicious glare. Cunning of 5+, or luck of 5+. Let's do a cunning of 5+ with him. I guess it doesn't really matter. Success. If successful, he uses medical supplies to heal D3 wounds from each hero. All right, then we do luck +5 for her, and she gets it. If successful, on his way out, he hands you a loot. All right. 1 Darkstone and 20 experience points. And we will begin our combat against this Night Terror. So we have Violet first, then Clancy, then Henchman, then Night Terror, then the Occultist. Everybody has to roll for 2 horror hits first, so we're going to have our Saloon Girl Violet roll against that. She takes 1 hit. Alright, so we defeated this Night Terror, and we get to draw for loot. Alright, so he gets a Darkstone, 20 XP. She gets a gear card, and 20 XP. So she got, oh, sick, repeating holdout pistol. So the upgraded version of the pistol that she's currently carrying. That's pretty nice. Get 2 shots and a free attack once per fight. Very nice. All right, let's get this guy out of the way and continue on our journey to map out this entire dungeon. All right, so let's have her search. She doesn't scavenge anything, and he's going to scavenge too. And he doesn't find anything, so we'll just go ahead and move on. And we will go up this way. And move into there, and there's 1 pathway out of there. Let's keep this here. Ah, we forgot to do holding back the darkness. I don't do this every turn in combat, in case you haven't noticed. Alright, we didn't hold it back. Okay, so it means we've got to roll a d6 on our chart here. 3 is attack. Draw a threat card. Alright, so we're double attacked in here. So we'll draw a threat card. Look at that. 4 stranglers and 5 tentacles. Alright, let the combat begin. All right, so we were able to defeat the stranglers and the tentacles. However, we had to use both our revive tokens for Violet and Marshall, respectively. And we lost the henchman, and we lost the occultist, Abdul. Which is just as well, because he seemed like a shady fella. First we need to roll for darkness. It advances, and we get darkness card. And it says, Power of the Void. All void enemies are now +1 combat. We need to draw loot. Draw an artifact card. And a gear card and some experience. Okay. So the gear card is going to be 2 whiskey tokens. That's nice. The artifact card is going to be +1 agility, Gloves of Chardrin. Alright. Once per turn, you may re-roll an escape test. Okay, cool. So draw our next map. There's only one path through this tunnel. And our encounter card. Explosives. The room is filled with crates of dynamite and barrels of gunpowder. Much of it is spilling out onto the floor. Any hero ending their move on this map tile may search for usable dynamite. Scavenge roll for every 5 or 6. You may gain a dynamite token. For each roll of 1. Oh, forgot to do our little catching our breath for him. He gets to remove 1 wound. Oh, he did kill somebody too. Did he? No, he didn't. I don't think he hit a single enemy that whole combat. Alright, now let's roll to scavenge then, huh? She gets an extra dice to roll. So 5s or 6s. Alright, we get 2 dynamite. Those will come in handy. Okay, and we'll call that good in that room. So there's 1 pathway here. Got an ambush attack and 2 pathways. Okay. So we're fighting some tentacles. 4 tentacles. Alright, let's get our tentacles here. Alright, now everybody gets to go before the tentacles, so that's great. I think we'll save our dynamite for now. Let's go ahead and do our 2 shots for Violet. Clancy's going to try and kill this here tentacle. He rolls a critical hit for 4 damage to defeat this one. And because he killed something, he gets to restore 1 wound, and he gets to attack again. 8 for a critical hit of 5, and defeats it. All right. So that defeats the tentacles. However, Violet's not looking so hot. She's looking awfully dead. She gets to recover 2d6. All right, that's everything. Very nice. And his catching his breath is going to be for 2 wounds. So she's back, baby. Room. Go here. Oh, we got to roll for the darkness here, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And that is a miss, so that goes up that way. And we're going to roll a d6 since we landed on a plain spot. We rolled a 3, which is going to be an attack. Draw a threat card, of course. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end this actual play here. I think we got a good taste for some of the Overland stuff. We've had your standard dungeon crawl, Shadows of Brimstone stuff. We've had the Overland HexCrawl stuff. We did the Create Your Own Mission Randomizer. We did some solo RPG stuff. So we got to see kind of like how this all comes together, and it creates quite an interesting, fun experience, like a big open world sandbox RPG experience. We didn't even get to creating towns, and there's all sorts of stuff left to be discovered. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. A little bit different, but it had some of our old hallmarks for actually plays. And yeah, let me know what you thought in the comments down below, and like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.